went over the rail, and the girl that I was doing the scene with, and I turned sideways, which didn't feel natural. And it was such a small fall, I didn't have time to react. And I landed on a pipe, and I burst fractured my L2 vertebrae, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. However you want to get to that, or not the devil, a demon, or a dark entity, a principality, a spirit, that was real. Jesus is real. And these movies point that out. Unless you know how you're being manipulated or the tools they use, you're not ever going to be able to fight it. You can't. How do you fight a fight when you don't even know you're in a fight? You've got to understand, if they control your story, they control your behavior. So if you want that power, you want to be famous, or you want to get into the high levels of it, you're going to give something up. Had I not broken my back, and had God not reset my life and gave me one more chance to redeem my soul, I would not be who I am today, and I would not be doing what I am today. And I am way more happy being this guy than I was the guy in Hollywood chasing a bunch of false reality to begin with. And all I know is I need to get right with Jesus.
All right, well, my guest today, I'm super excited to have my buddy here with me. This guy was living the Hollywood dream, man. He was crashing cars, jumping off buildings. I mean, he was one of the who's in the industry, and but then an accident changed the trajectory of his entire life. And it's incredible when you get to hear his story and what he's going to share today. And man, he left LA, started chasing after the things of God, and made 2 powerful documentaries. And we're going to share all that information with you, but we're going to get into that on this episode of the Defending Freedom Show. And so today I want to welcome my guest, Mike Smith. Hey, brother. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Hey, man. Thank you for traveling all the way down to Houston, Texas to join me today, man. It's an honor to have you.
Well, Houston is my home city. I was born and raised in Houston, and before I started my life, this is where I grew up, and I have a special affinity for Houston, and I love coming back to Houston.
That's awesome, man. So you're a Texas boy.
Born and raised.
So tell me how a Texas boy ends up in Hollywood and having a career like you had. How does that happen?
Well, I'll tell you right now, God had a lot to do with it. But a lot of it came through just probably my failures in certain ways, and then some of it came through I went to Cypress Creek High School, which is here in Houston. Graduated. I was an athlete. I was on the track team. I was a pole vaulter. I played football every year. Quit my senior year, and I took up the sport of springboard and platform diving. And it was something that I was just naturally, God gave me a gift for it. I could just do it. I had great kinesthetic awareness, like spatially, you knowing where your body is in the air. And I ended up going, because I didn't dive long in high school, so I didn't really get recruited. I didn't really have any offers to go to a major college, but I knew I wanted to dive in college. I knew that was something I wanted to do. So I went to a junior college in Florida that was called Indian River. At the time, it was called Indian River Community College. Now it's called Indian River State College. It's in Fort Pierce, Florida. And they have an excellent swimming and diving program. And I mean, they've won in that space. They've won the national championship like more than any school in any other sport. Like I think I don't want to quote this number, but I know it was over 30 times. There might even be closer to 40 times they've won the national championship, swimming and diving.
So you got to be good to get into a school like that.
Well, I walked on
Okay.
So my first year, I walked on, and then I earned a scholarship the second semester, and then I went to junior college nationals. And to be quite honest, I learned a lot about myself. It was like kind of throwing gasoline on a fire. I was seated third, but the pressure and the expectations and the will to win overwhelmed me so much that by the end of the meet, I ended up 16th. I remember it was a horror. I just felt so defeated, and I've been writing a book, and I'll tell you more about that. But one part in the book, I write about this part right here. I don't know what did this, but when I saw the guy that won, he was a friend of mine, and I said to him, "Hey, could I borrow your medal for a minute?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Can I borrow your medal?" And he's like, "What do you mean, borrow my medal?" And I go, Can I just take a picture? Can I use your medal for a second?" And I took his medal and I put it around my neck and I took a picture. And I took that picture and I put it on my dashboard in my truck. And every morning and every day I drove around campus and practice and wherever. And I said, "Did you do everything today to earn that medal next year?" And I literally, I mean, like when we were doing runs or we were doing exercise or training, I made sure if we were to do 100, I did 110. If we were to do a swim, I swam extra. If I ran extra. And so I knew that if I got back in that situation, I would have confidence that I did everything and I deserved to be there. And it was, and then the next year, it was the greatest feeling. I get kind of choked up when I think about it, but I had that medal on my dashboard, and I drove back from Florida to Texas to show my mom, and it was one of the greatest periods of my life. And then from that, I got recruited by pretty much every major school in the country. I had Miami, Florida State, Arizona State, TCU, and then ultimately I ended up at Auburn. At Auburn in Alabama. Had a fantastic swimming and diving program, and at that time, the best diver and the best male diver in the nation was a guy named Jose Luis Rocha, and he won NCAAs, and I wanted to frankly beat him, so I wanted to go to Auburn and train with him. I never did. He was fantastic diver and went to the Olympics multiple times, and but I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned about competition at a very high level, and what it takes to train. You know, most people that have not trained at like a Division I level or a high level don't understand the commitment, not only from an academic side but from a athletic side, of how much you have to commit to get to that level. Like you know, most people go to college and they party and they have a good time. It's great, but when you're an athlete, I mean, every morning it was up at 5:30 at practice, 5:30 to 7. You know, you're training every morning, and then around 8 you go to class, 12 you go to weights, do weights or training, to dry land, whatever, and then you got your afternoon kind of off, or your after your classes, do your homework, whatever, and then go back to the pool 5 to 7 at night, and that's 6 days a week. Well, Saturdays were a different schedule, but it's every day except for Sunday. And it taught me discipline. It taught me, if you want something, no one's going to help you. You have to earn it. And so anyway, I made that probably longer than I should have, but that was the base for when I graduated from college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and at the time, I was dealing with a lot of emotional instability. My mother, I'm adopted, so my adopted mother was diagnosed terminally with breast cancer, and she was dying, and I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. I just knew I needed to be with my mom, because she only had 6, 7 months, 8 months to live. And so I went back home to Texas. I went back home to Houston, and it was funny. I substitute school taught for a little bit, and then I was mowing yards, and I started making more money mowing yards, so I started a landscaping maintenance company. And then I got a call, hey, would you want to do the high diving show at Astroworld? And so, I don't know if you guys have ever remember that, but there used to be a high diving show. I don't even know. Is Astroworld even still around?
I don't know.
Anyway, I took a job at Astroworld. I was doing the high diving show, and It's weird how God works, now looking back, but I get a call out of nowhere. There's Six Flags Magic Mountain, which is still around. It's in California. It's north of LA. And they had a high diving show and they had a dolphin show. So it was really cool. It was a fun job. So I went from Astroworld to Six Flags Magic Mountain. And while I was there diving, and it didn't pay a lot of money, but it was a lot of fun. And I didn't want to get a real job because I still like to train and whatever. Mm-hmm. But I got to swim with dolphins, do the high diving show, and that was the first time I met a stuntman, like a real stuntman. And this guy came in. He was practicing for a high fall. Do you remember the movie Predator?
Yes.
Predator
Yep.
2. Predator 2.
Yeah, I watched all of them.
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the Predator when he falls off the building, like 100 and something feet. Well, this guy is he was a high diver, but he's also an amazing stunt guy. And so he's coming in practicing what he was going to do off the high diving tower, because there's not many places that you can practice falling 96 feet or however high it was. And so he came in and I was like, stunts. Wow, that's a cool thing, so I grew up on horses. I grew up in the country and I grew up riding motocross. I wasn't a racer, but I rode motocross my whole life, and then grew up doing martial arts and grew up, doing all the sports and diving. I was like, man, stunts seems like something I would maybe want to do. And to make a long story longer, I was screwing around one day on that show, and I slipped on the mini tramp. Those are at 40 feet, so it's still high, but not like it's 10 feet higher than a platform tower. So it's high enough to hurt you, but it's not really low. It's still not that high. But anyway, I slipped off the mini tramp, and I landed flat on my back in front of the crowd, and I burst my lung, and that was the first time. And I came up and I was spitting like pink aortic, like I couldn't breathe. I could hear my lungs, like blood in my lungs. And anyway, I ended up in intensive care. That was the first time. I was 22 years old, and it was the first time I knew I wasn't immortal, because until that point I've never really had anything bad like that happen. Wow. And so I ended up going back to Texas. My mom was getting worse, and I went back to Texas, and I wanted to be with her. And so I honored my mother, and I stayed with her until she passed and she died. And I didn't know what to do. I had a girlfriend at the time. We were in turmoil, and just life. And then, I got this random phone call out of the blue, and it was, hey, would you like to come to LA and audition for this show at the MGM Grand Hotel? And the MGM Grand Hotel was opening. That was when Vegas was trying to still do the family-friendly thing. And they had a theme park that were opening up, and it was called the Dueling Pirates Stunt Spectacular. And they were auditioning, and they made it sound like when I was on the phone, if you come to this audition, you're gonna get a job. Well, I showed up there, and there's like 400 guys auditioning for 17 parts, and I'm standing in this line, and they're testing us and everything: martial arts, rope climbing, trampoline, mini tramp, gymnastics, balance. I mean, just sword fighting, anything you could come up with. They were testing and cutting everyone. Well, long story short, I got cast to be the lead, or I was one of the guys chosen to be the lead. I knew nothing about Hollywood. I knew nothing about acting or singing or dancing. And to be quite frankly, I'm horrible at singing and dancing. So, I didn't get hired because of that. I got hired because of the athletic stuff. And, anyway, long story longer. I ended up doing I got cast to do the show, and we went to an 11-week training camp. I had just met my now wife. I've been married to my wife. We've been together 33 years, and we've been married for 30 years. And I do have a, one of the things God blessed me with is my family. I have a great family. I got great kids. I got a great wife. And to make it through Hollywood, it's not easy. So you have to have a lot of, commitment and a lot of work, to communicate, because communication in a marriage is the key, because if you don't communicate, you're not going to stay centered with each other. So anyway, I give my wife a lot of credit. So we were getting ready to open that show, and again, God works in funny ways, and I've learned this. I had just sold my landscaping company. My wife was an architect drafter. She just quit her job, and we moved to Las Vegas to do the show. New life, new adventure. The 2 nights before the opening show, I'm rehearsing, and I do a backflip off of this table, and the carpet wasn't set, and my knee, I blew out my ACL. And so now I'm in the hospital. I have to have surgery. There's a lot more to that, but anyway, it ended up, I never actually did the live show. And I had met these stunt people I was telling you about earlier, and I get this call like, hey, they're auditioning people for Batman Forever. And I'm like, can you go to the audition? I didn't want. It had been about 5 months since my surgery, so I was getting around pretty good. But after an ACL surgery, it takes about 8 months, 9 months, 10 months to really be. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I can go. Well, anyway, long story. I keep making these long stories, but what happened was, I go to this audition. There's all these people there. Really talented people. I mean, like super talented people. And these are real stunt guys. And I meet the stunt coordinator. His name was Conrad Palmisano. I was really young, and he was watching me move around. He goes, well, you're a lot smaller than what we're looking for, but you move really well. And so he goes, I'm going to hire you. And I thought, okay, I mean, I didn't believe it, because I hear stuff like all the time, but you don't believe it.
Right.
Well, I got hired as one of Harvey Two-Face's thugs. Like Tommy Lee Jones in that movie had some henchmen, so I got hired as one of his henchmen. He goes, "You're a little smaller, but you move good, so we'll hire you." Well, I ended up doing that. Just my first big job was Batman Forever, and so I go there. Now I'm working with all the real stunt coordinators and real stuntmen. And they can see, they recognize people that are talented. They can see, and God bless me with being 6 feet, and I look like a lot of actors, and I could double a lot of different people. And so one day I'm standing there on set, and the stunt coordinator walks over, and he goes, "Hey, Mike, go over there and stand next to Val." And I go, "Okay." So I go over there, and then if you ever see my movie, which I know we'll get into, Out of Shadows, there's another stuntman in that movie named Brad Martin. Well, Brad and I were like competitors, because we were like the same size and we had the same skill set, and of course we're young and we want to be the best. So we're like, he goes, "You two go stand next to Val." And so we did. We went over there, and he goes, "All right, tomorrow go get fitted for the Batsuit. I need you to do a little stunt."
You're talking about Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, yeah. And so I stand there next to Val, and he goes, "Just go get fit." So next day I went down to wardrobe, got the Batsuit on, and took a bunch of pictures. And the director, everybody looked at it, and they were like, "Yeah, and I happened to literally be Val's exact measurements at that time.
Wow.
And so I got the job. Well, I don't know how long you want me to keep telling these stories, but anyway, I got the job, and one of the, I don't even know if this is important, but I remember, I'll never forget this. I can't believe I'm going to be Batman. Like, that's...
Dude, did not a lot of people get to put on the legit Batsuit?
Yeah, well, it was like, and there were, now to be fair, there were a lot of bat doubles. There's not just one guy that gets just to be Batman, because there was like different
multiple movies over the years.
Well, and on most movies, there's more than one double because of different skill sets.
Oh, okay.
So mine being a diver, this particular stunt was diving off. It's in the movie. It's actually in that SEAL video, Kiss from a Rose. But when Batman, there's Nicole Kidman and Drew Barrymore, and they drop him down, and he has to make a choice, and he dives down the tube. Well, that was me in the Batsuit. And so, wow. Anyway, the funny thing about that is, I don't know, like, I'll never forget this. I was standing up there, and I'm like, I'm nervous because the Batsuit, you can't. When Batman turns, it's like this. It's because you can't. Like maybe now in the newer Batsuits you can, but in that Batsuit, when you turn, it's like you had to turn your whole body. And so what I was asked to do is dive head first into a airbag or a porta pit. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was an airbag, but it was like 30 something feet down. And you had to be like looking at it at the last second, collapse your neck and fall on your back to save yourself. Well, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that because I hadn't done it. I hadn't tested. So now there's like all the people there, the big studio exec, everybody, they got the lights, they got the wind. It's like, I can't hear. It's like, right. And you got these old, back then, the old cameras are like, brrr, you can hear the film flying through the cameras, high speed. And I'm sitting there like, I'm scared. I'm gonna be honest. I was a little scared because I'm like, am I going to break my neck in front of all these people and kill myself right here? Well, anyway, right as we're getting ready to go, they go, cut. All right. Everybody strike all this. We'll come back and do this tomorrow. We don't have time. And I'm standing there. I'm like, oh my God. I had to go home and think about this all night. Wow. And I had to go home and my heart. And I remember looking over at this guy. I go, man, they're shining the lights in my eyes. They're blowing smoke on me. I got stuff hit me in the face. And the guy looked over at me and he goes, if this was easy, someone else would have your job.
Yeah. Wow.
He goes, do your job. I'll never forget that because that stuck with me my whole career. If this was easy, someone else would be doing this. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I came back the next day and I was even praying going into the studio. I'm like, please don't let me have a car wreck. I just want to be Batman one day, just one time. I go, don't let me wreck the car. So anyway, I went back. The stunt went fine. After the first take, I realized I could duck my head, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I did it a few times, and it went great. And that was, and then I did some other stuff underwater, doing some underwater stuff as, Batman. But there was, we did a lot of different things. But it was a great experience, and it got me a great introduction to a lot of the real stunt people. And then I ended up on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and X-Files. And I have my career, I doubled so many different people, and I know I made that really long, and I apologize. But
no, that's awesome, man. And you were in, just real quick, how many movies and stuff were you a part, like if you had to put a number to it?
Well, a lot of my credits, like I did a lot of TV shows that I never, put down as I didn't keep track of it. I mean, it's hundreds. I don't know. Maybe. You got 30 years. I did a lot, and sometimes I'm working 2 jobs a day. The funniest thing is, I worked on X-Files for like 4 or 5, 6 seasons. I didn't even know what the show was about. Never watched it, and I was David's double. I never even now I look back and I go, oh my God, that was kind of a cool show. So, and then the last coolest job I got, and was because not many people know this. Very few Americans have ever been James Bond. And there's only been 2 or 3 that I know of, and I'm one of them. And I got to be James Bond on the Tomorrow Never Dies with Pierce Bronson.
Wow, man.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experience.
That's pretty sick, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but man, so I want to transition. So
yeah, that was the early days.
Yeah. So okay. So now, during your career, there was a pivotal moment. You had a life-altering injury.
Well, okay, so just to so everybody's watching that knows, so I started as a stuntman. I did that for a long time, but I knew as a young man, I watched what happened as stuntmen began to age. Mm-hmm. And it's just like football or baseball or fighting or boxing, whatever. no matter how good you are, at some point, Father Time is going to catch up with you. And you're not going to be what you once were, but you still, in your head, kind of think you are, until something reminds you that you're not. So I knew early on that I needed to transition from being a performer into like a coordinator, like a fight coordinator, a stunt coordinator. So I really started focusing on learning those skills, and thank God, God blessed me, and I was doing that. But I mainly became what's called a second unit director, or an action director. So when you see big movies or you see, action movies, there's usually a second unit, which doesn't involve the main director. I mean, you might get the actor for a day or two or whatever for scenes, but mainly it's done with just stunt performers and a completely different team. Car chases, explosions, high falls, inserts, different things that don't need to take up main unit's time. So that's a great job, and it's a lot of fun. So I was doing that, and I had been doing that for I started directing early. So maybe, let's see, it's 2014, probably 15, maybe 20 years. Like I was directing and coordinating, doing those things, but I was still performing because I still could. Like one of the biggest movies I did, that people watch, I did Need for Speed. I was one of the stunt coordinators on that, and I did a lot of the car stunts in that, or tested a lot of those stunts. So anyway, in 2014, I had a great job. I used to work on this TV show called Grimm. I don't know if it's like the Brothers Grimm. Do you remember that? It was on NBC, and I had a cool job. I was the fight choreographer. So I would get paid. I'd go up, I'd choreograph the fights, train the actors, train the stunt guys, just choreograph the fight, and I'd fly back to LA. Well, one day my buddy, who's the stunt coordinator on that, he said, "Hey man, why don't you make some extra money and play this part?" And I'm like, I don't really want it. I actually turned it down 3 times. I don't know why, but I did. And I was on Valentine's Day, I'll never forget. I was all made up in one of those. I hated wearing the rubber heads, man. Like the Buffy we used to call them, because I worked on Buffy and Angel and all that. You wear the rubber mask and the like monster heads. I hated that. But anyway, he said, just play this part. It's just nothing thing. You're just falling down from the 16th floor to the 15th floor in a stairwell. It's no big deal. And the stuff I've done, it was nothing. It was like I've done that stunt, like, or something like that. Now I would say hundreds of times, but at least 20 times, or maybe more, something like it. And so anyway, I was doing the stunt, did the first take, went over the rail, was fighting with this girl, went over the rail. When I go over the rail the first time, I went over, and then I felt myself, and I flipped over and I landed on my feet on the mat, and I was like, okay, all right, I need to lay out more to make it look like I'm falling, because it looked like I just did a flip over the rail. Right. And I was like, I'll do that better. Let me go back up. So I went back up there, and then somehow, this was God. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I did not know that my entire life was about to get reset. My hand, I went over the rail, and the girl that I was doing the scene with, I don't know what happened, but I felt her foot. I felt my foot. I felt something push my foot. And I turned sideways, which didn't feel natural. And it was such a small fall, I didn't have time to react. And I landed on a pipe, and I burst fractured my L2 vertebrae, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. Wow. And when that happened, I cannot tell you the amount of pain. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I can't even begin to tell you how bad. I just screamed, and I gotta tell you something. I'm lying there, and it burned. It makes me jump even thinking about it. But I was screaming, because I was just like, I knew it was, I was bad. It was bad, and I don't remember how much time it was, but I knew it took quite a bit of time to get the medical rescue crew up there, because it was on the 15th floor of a high rise. And I remember it just burned so bad. It was just burning. And I remember the firefighter reaching under me, and everybody's telling me, don't move, don't move, don't move. And I could feel, and I caught this guy like this, and I pulled myself up, and I could feel this relief kind of in my back. And then I was like lying there, and this was the first time, and I didn't know what it was because I'd never really experienced it, but this was the first time I felt the Holy Spirit, like for real. This warmth went over my body and went all the way down me, and I could feel one toe on my left foot move. I could move one toe. And I was like, oh my God. And I knew right then I was going to be okay.
Oh, wow.
Like I knew, I don't know what I'm going to go through, but I'm going to be, God, it's really going to be bad, but I'm going to be okay. And then from that moment, you know, my wife gets the call, and I mean, my whole life changed. I mean, I went from being this guy that could do anything in the world, my whole identity, my whole purpose, everything I'd worked for, everything I trained for was gone. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. And so then I went into emergency surgery for 7.5 hours. I came out of the surgery, and I shouldn't tell this story because this is a Christian show, but I did something really bad. I'm not good when I get anesthesia. Like I get very combative. Like, cause like
You were fighting the nurses.
I did a lot of bad things, but like one time I got hurt in Germany. I won't go into it, but I got hurt in Germany, and I found myself. I woke up and I was tied to the table like ropes. They had me tied to gurney, and I walked, and blood all over me. And they're like, you've been beating up the nurses. You're gonna have to do this awake. We're not gonna put you under.
Wow.
So that was a whole nother Jerry Springer we could go into. But anyway, so I get to the hospital and come out of the surgery. The doctor had a great doctor. Everybody at NBC and Universal took good care of me. Like I have nothing but respect for, the team that kind of helped get me back together. But that day, I look back now, was God resetting my life, because I was heading down a path that I know, I would, if just for the record, if you ask me, are you a Christian? I would say, yeah, I'm a Christian. But the reality is, I wasn't a Holy Spirit filled believer. I was a Christian in label only. Mm-hmm. Like I was just a C&E, Christmas and Easter, and pray when you get in trouble. It's like it doesn't work like that. So that's I've said that before, and but that was reality. And then God started working on me, and it took I'd never done drugs. I was never one of those guys that like a lot of stunt guys do painkillers or whatever, because you being a stuntman, you're gonna get hurt when you go to work. That's just part of it. Getting hit by a car, it hurts. Getting thrown down the stairs, it hurts.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Smashing through a window, you get cut. Different stunts. You go home and you learn how to heal. You just don't want to get injured, because an injury is like like separating your shoulder or tearing your ligaments out, or
Getting paralyzed from the waist down.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. So I didn't realize the road to recovery, how long it was really going to take, and I did not realize at the time, because I didn't realize what really had happened to me. Mm-hmm. And it took almost 2.5 years, and I did not ever think I wouldn't live without pain. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the pain that you can't. I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, I was on these painkiller regimens: Dilaudid, OxyContin, Norco, Vicodin, Percocet. I was on all of it. Wow. And I'd never, because I've never done coke, I've never done X, I've never done all the fun drugs that everybody does or whatever. It's supposed to be a good time. And I never did that. The only thing I've ever done is, I've said this openly on many podcasts, I'd smoked pot a couple of times, but I was not a user. You know, it wasn't like something I did. And then when I was realizing as I was recovering, I'm not healing. I'm just masking the symptom of the pain. Like I could take the painkillers, but I'm not getting any better. Yeah. So like for months, this was going on. And finally I was like, all right, I got to get off of this stuff. Because, you know, when you're not a drug person, you don't want to take drugs. Like I didn't want to be taking these pills.
And that's how a lot of people get addicted to that stuff.
Because your mom tells you only take the drugs that the doctor gives you. And well, the doctor's not going to do anything to hurt me. Mm-hmm. But they don't. I mean, like they had me on Dilaudid like 6 weeks longer than you're supposed to be on it. Wow. And I did not know that I was now addicted to painkillers. And so I decided, with me being Mike, I can do anything. And I go, I'm just going to quit. And so one day I just threw all the painkillers away, and I'm laying there in bed, and next thing you know, I think I have the flu. And I mean, I'm getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And it's like the third day into the fourth day, I told my wife, I said, if I live through tonight, you have to take me to the hospital. I got the flu. And what it was I was having the withdrawals from drugs. Wow. Because I'd never done drugs. I didn't know what it was. Wow. And it felt to me like I was having the flu. And so I'll never forget that night when it broke. I was laying there and I was shaking, couldn't regulate my body temperature. I was hot, cold, and I was sweating. I mean, I'm talking when you have to go through, it's not like, oh, you have sweats at night. This was like somebody took a 5-gallon bucket of water and poured it in your bed. And my wife is like, you know, God bless her, but she's going through all this with me. And well, anyway, I'll never forget when I felt that come off of me, it felt like I felt awesome. And then I had a friend who was a really well-respected stuntman. He got his pelvis crushed in a stunt, and he had gotten addicted to painkillers. And he had a big problem with them, but he got off and he went through rehab and had to go through a whole system. He comes over and he says, Mike, man, you gotta quit doing this. And he goes, you gotta start. And so he made these, he made me some pot brownies that he had made. Well, I've never eaten pot brownie before. So he gives it to me and I'm like, and I'm not, for the record, I'm not telling people I suggest you do this. This is just my story. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he brings it over and he goes, just eat a half of one. Of course, you know, I okay. So I eat it, nothing. So of course I eat the rest of it. 2 hours, 3 hours goes by. All of a sudden, it kicks in. And there's some funny videos if you watch people that have eaten pot brownies or eaten that. I call him up. I literally think I'm going to die. Like, I think I am dying. I can't go to sleep. I am freaking out. And I call him up and go, you should be in prison. You should not be allowed to give people this. He goes, would you eat the whole thing? I go, well, nothing happened. And he goes, eat a little piece of it. And so anyway,
total delay reaction.
Oh God. And it was the most horrifying. Like, I never did that ever again. I would take like a third of it, you know, and just eat it, and that was it. Because it didn't take the pain away, but what it did was make the pain manageable. And so I did that for, I don't know, probably 6-7 months. I don't like the way it makes me feel, so I don't do it anymore. You know, I mean, every now and then they're like, but see, I've learned through stretching and exercise, your body wants to heal itself. And if you just you have to eat right. And I quit out, and just for the record, I knocked off all the alcohol for a year. I just like, okay, if I'm going to heal, I can't drink alcohol at all. And I can't, now I still have a drink, but, alcohol's never been a problem for me. It's just been something I've done, randomly throughout my life. But getting off the painkillers was
an experience in and of itself.
It was because you don't know.
Right.
And my mom always said, don't take any drugs unless the doctor gives them to you. Well, this guy's, that's synthetic heroin. I mean, if you look at what it really is, and then, there's other kinds of drugs and that are even worse. So that got me to where so having been in bed for 2 years and dealing with this, you have a lot of time to think about a lot of things. And I said to myself, and believe me, I was self-pity, anger, embarrassment, the struggle that I was having internally, because you can lie to other people about yourself, but you can't lie to yourself about yourself. And I knew my whole life had just changed, and God was doing something with me at that time. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be who I've been my whole life, who am I going to be now? And here's the greatest thing, because now I get to choose. So I did this. I wrote down 10 things that I loved about myself, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And then I wrote down 10 things I did not like about myself, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And I burned them. And I kept the 10 that I liked.
Oh, wow.
And I started to focus my recovery on doing stuff for other people. I started focusing on, if I can't help myself, well, I can help others. So I started volunteering my time for people. I started giving my heart to other people. I've been so selfish. I'd never done anything for any other organization. So I decided, I'm gonna do something every day for someone else randomly. And it might just be holding up the door. It might be helping someone, with advice. It might be listening, because sometimes people need a friend. They need to hear, And so I focused my healing on, because the only thing that made me feel good at that time was doing stuff for other people, because I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about where I was at. I was crushed physically. I was atrophied. My body was atrophied. I couldn't even do 2 pull-ups. I mean, I could go from doing tons of them to I couldn't even do pull-ups. So I started a routine. I just would wake up, and my goal was to get downstairs and stretch. Wow. Not stretch like trying to become like super flexible. I'm talking just moving. And then through this healing period, I met my therapist that's in the movie.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
And that's when I was going to therapy, and one day she said to me, she goes, "Hey, can I pray over you?" And I'm like, "Pray over me?" Like I say this in the movie. I'm like, why would you pray over me? I don't really believe in any of that anymore. Because, at this point, I had pretty much lost all my faith. I mean, I believe, okay, there's God, but how do I know the Bible? How do I know who wrote the Bible? How do I know that it hasn't been altered? How do I know? And we only know what we know. So how do we know? And I'd always go to that.
Is that, okay, so you feel like did you have faith before you got into Hollywood? Over the course of your career, did you lose that faith?
That's what happened. I had faith at one time, and I had forgotten my faith because I had just gotten, I would pray every night. I would literally pray every night. And I'm not kidding. I literally would pray every night. And I never heard God talk to me. I never felt the Holy Spirit. I'd always ask, let me know you're real. And I never felt anything. And I was like, okay, he's not real. Or if he is real, he's not talking to me. And, and I don't know what to do to get him to talk to me, because I feel like I'm going to church. I took my kids to church.
And this is during your time in your career?
When I was doing all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
I was adopted, through Catholic charity. So I was raised Catholic, and there was a Catholic church by the house. Sometimes I would just go in by myself into the prayer room and go in there and pray. I didn't tell anyone I was doing it, but I would do that. And even when I was in China, when I was working in Hong Kong, I would sneak off on Sundays and go to the Catholic church in Hong Kong and go pray. And that was the first time I'd ever seen people that actually had faith, because those people that were in that church had nothing.
In China?
In China. Well, it was in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong.
Yeah. And most of those people were Filipino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they had their faith. And I was like, that's what it's like to have faith. And see, I didn't feel that ever. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's funny, again, be careful what you ask for. Because let me tell you something. Had I not hurt my knee, I would have never been Batman. Had I never broke my back and crushed my life, I'd never be a man I am today.
Wow.
And I like this guy a lot better than the guy that I was, because I may not have all the cool stuff that I did have, but I got a great wife, I got a great family, I got a great relationship with God, I've got a great mission, and I have a lot of really solid friends and family. I met you through this journey. I met everybody here because of what God's doing. And so jumping back to coming out of the moments where, like,
so your therapist now, she wants to pray for you, and you're like,
yeah,
what the heck?
Well, and you guys, when you don't know, I'd never heard anyone pray in tongues before. I'd never, or the Spirit, whatever you guys, however you want to say it. Yeah. She started praying over me, and I thought she was throwing a voodoo curse on me. Like, like I was sitting there, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, how do I know? Like, I don't know you, right, and I'm letting you do this. And the funniest thing was, you know, it's kind of awkward. I mean, to be quite blunt, physical pelvic floor therapy is not something that you don't want to have it. It's the most painful, humiliating, embarrassing, because you have someone doing things to you, pushing on areas and pulling on areas and moving areas around that are very personal and very private, and you don't just do that.
Right.
And so here's this woman who's, you know, very personal with me, but what she said to me next, and this went on for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And she'd go, "Can I pray for you?" And I'd always go, "Yeah, sure, pray for me." Well, one day I finally just stopped her, and you know I don't believe in any of this stuff. Like, I don't, you know, you believe in the spirit world, you believe in all this, you think it works? And she said to me, this, I swear this changed my entire life. This one thing she said, she goes, "You don't believe in have you heard of the occult? Have you heard in Satan worship or SRA? Have you heard of any of this stuff?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "I don't invite that into my life. I'm not going to." She goes, "I highly suggest you look into it. It's completely real, and you need to look into it." And I was like, and that stuck with me. I'm like, what is she talking about? Like the occult. And that was the start of my journey. That was like, because I didn't know what she meant. And I'm like, okay. So then, you know, me, I'm like, well, I'll go on YouTube, and I start looking up, you know, I'm like, well, I'm watching videos. And next thing I know, I'm seeing things, and this is when I see a lot of this in Out of Shadows, but, you know, it's been a few years, so I'll repeat it. But it's been like, I remember as I'm looking at these occult symbols and artwork and just different things from the occult world, I'm like, man, I've seen that in my friend's house. I've seen that in my other friend's house. I've seen that. Like, what? I'm like, and so just planted a seed, and the seed started to grow, and I started to go, and then all of a sudden I'm going, I don't know, and then I'm like, I'm starting to, now I'm just wanting to know, because, you know, I'm, you know, I know about archangels, Gabriel and Michael, and Uriel, and I mean all the different, excuse me, archangels. I mean, I've heard about them, but I don't know anything about them. Mm-hmm. So during this period, and this is weird, but I felt like God was telling me, I want you to read the book of Enoch. And I'm like, the book of Enoch? I've never read the Bible. I don't want to confuse myself. I'm trying to get through the Bible. Like, why are you doing this? What God was showing me, in my opinion, was how spiritual warfare works, because being a martial artist, being a fighter, if you don't know your enemy, like Sun Tzu's Art of War, if you don't know your enemy, you're never going to defeat him. You know, if you know yourself and not your enemy, you're not going to be successful. If you know your enemy, not yourself, you're not going to be successful. You need to know your enemy. You need to know yourself and know your enemy. So I started studying this stuff, and I went down that rabbit hole for like, I don't know, as I was starting to go down it, I went down it for probably a couple weeks, right? Where I was just really trying to figure it out. And I'm not going to do it here because it'll take too long, but this is when I had my first experience with the Holy Spirit. And God ripped back the veil on me. And when he did this, it literally, if you could feel the love and the light of Christ that I felt that day, I'd never even have to do a podcast. No one would. No one would have to. I wouldn't have to say a word.
Wow.
But God doesn't do that for everyone. He did it for me because I think he chose me to do what I did. And what he did was, all right, well, I'll tell you a little bit. And if anybody wants to watch it, I'm sure you can look it up online. You can go see my testimony. But what happened was, I was doing everything right. I was doing everything. I was trying to pray more. I was trying to be a better man. I was rebuilding who I was. And then all of a sudden, one night, I got pinned to the bed by this dark force, like this demonic force, like, yeah. And I can't, and this is a part, like, I don't care if people believe me. Like, I don't care what people think, and people can say I'm crazy. I don't care. I know what happened to me, and I believe me, so that's all that really matters. Yeah. And this thing pinned me to the bed, and it was the first time it was like it put something over my face, and it shoved me down in the bed, and I couldn't breathe, and it was trying to suffocate me, and I couldn't wake up. I couldn't get it off of me, and I could feel myself starting to die. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how I did, but I broke awake. When I did that, I hit my wife. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Something's trying to kill me." And I have never been that scared in my life. I've done a lot of things that would scare most people, but this was something I didn't know how to fight. This was something that was different. I couldn't explain it. And, of course I know the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, but I did not know how to fight this attack. So that's when I got super serious about spiritual warfare, because that was real. That actually happened.
Wow. So
that's when I'm like, okay, I don't know how this works. I don't know. You got the Catholics, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Presbyterians. You got every kind of denomination, and every one of them thinks that the other ones aren't doing it right. But I know one thing: spiritual world's real, and the Word of God is real. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start there,
Nice. Wow.
and I'm going to walk with that. Now, how you get to it and where you go get it from, that's your relationship with the man upstairs. So I was like, I didn't go to sleep that night. I went, I was freaked out. Next morning at 6:00, I get up, I go to the gym. I'm going to end up telling the story. I end up going to the gym, and I called an old friend, because most of my friends in LA are not up at 6:00 in the morning. It's usually like 9 or 10 if you're not working. Mm-hmm. And we go work out, and where he's like, "Man, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, I can't tell him, "Hey, dude, I just got pinned to my bed by a demonic spirit." Like, he's going to look at me like I've lost my mind. Well, we end up in this, we work out, and we go to the sauna, and we're sitting in there, and it's funny how God works. There's this older gentleman who comes in, and I know him from the gym, just from the gym, and he looks at me, he goes, "Mike, man, you don't look like you're doing good." And I go, "No, man, I don't." He goes, "Well, what's wrong?" I go, "I feel like I need a blessing." And he goes, "Well, what are you doing tonight?" I said, "Well, nothing." He goes, "Well, we have this holy sacrament that we break out once a year for healing and blessings. And tonight at our church is that night." He goes, "Why don't you come to our church?" Well, what he didn't know was I knew who he was, because he was an usher at the Catholic church that I used to go to that I hadn't been in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I knew exactly who he was. And so, and by the way, I was one of the original people that started that church before it became what it is today. It was like small, and it was like in a different building, and then it became a big church. And I used to go religiously. Like I said, I was in practice a Christian, but I was in spirit empty and void. It wasn't, that was what was missing. So anyway, I go to that church, and actually if you watch the movie Out of Shadows, there's a shot of me holding up my phone to the cross, and that was the day I'll never forget. I've never been more scared to walk into church in my life. I was mortified to walk into that church. And he said, "What are you doing tonight?" I said, "Well," he said, "We're having this thing at 7:00. I set my alarm. I was not going to miss this thing. So as I'm walking in, I pulled out my phone and I videoed me walking into that church, because however you want to say this, however you want to get to it, this is what I knew. I don't care what that priest said or that pastor was going to say. I know that the word of God is real, because if that demonic spirit that pinned me to that bed is real, then Jesus Christ is real, because you can't have the devil without Jesus. So however you want to get to that, or not the devil, a demon, or a dark entity, a principality, the spirit, that was real. Jesus is real. And all I know is I needed to get right with Jesus.
Wow.
So I walk in that church. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm sitting in the very back of the church, got my head down. I don't want anybody to see me, because people know me. Actually, I found out later one of my daughter's friends was in there and saw me in there. But I walked in that church, and this light started hitting me. And it wasn't coming from the skylight. It was coming from over here, where it was just coming, this light. And it started pushing down on me. And I could feel the Holy Spirit coming over me, and I just started crying.
Wow.
And all I kept saying was, "I am so sorry, God, I did not believe in you. I am so sorry. Please, please forgive me, please."
Wow.
And it just got me on my knees. I couldn't tell you how long that Mass went on, but the Mass, he said, yeah, I forgot to tell you this part. He goes, "This Mass has been he goes, just understand, there's been very profound healing effects and blessings, but you have to be ready to take it." And so when I got there was only like 80 people, and this place holds like 700-800 people, maybe more. Yeah. And in the front, there's like a prayer team, and then there's the sick people in their wheelchairs, cancer. I mean, I might as well tell the whole story, because I'm halfway through it. So I end up back in the back of the church, and I'm devastated. I couldn't tell you how long the Mass was. I couldn't tell you all I know is the music for the first time sounded good. It didn't annoy me. Most of the time when I go to church, music drives me crazy. Same song over and over and over. I'm like, oh my God. It just drives me nuts. I'm just being honest. Yeah. So then the priest says, "If you'd like to receive this anointing or this blessing, would you please come forward?" Well, I saw people in the audience just kind of moving to where the prayer team was, and they're going up there, and I could not get out of my chair. I literally could not get up out of the chair. And I was just there, and I was still crying. I was just hiding my face in shame and bawling. And then I heard him say, "Okay, would anybody else like to receive this blessing?" And I still couldn't get out of my chair. And so they do the blessing over those people. And there's no one left in the church. I mean, literally there was like the prayer team, but everybody else is kind of filtering out. And he said, "Last call." And I said, "I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I got to get out of this chair. I got to make it up there." And somehow I got up there. And I sat down in the chair, and I was sitting like this, and I was trying to hide. But this light, it just kept hitting me, and it just kept pounding me, and I couldn't look at it. If I look at it, I felt like I would die. So I'm sitting there, and this kid, so there's the prayer people behind, the prayer team, prayer warriors behind us, and then there's some around us, and there's only like 2 or 3 people left. And then this one kid, he's probably in his early 20s, comes up, and I'm like this, and he puts his pelvis right here in my face. And I'm like, I want to back him up, I want to back him up. And he says to me, "Can I pray for you?" And at that moment, I just surrendered everything, every bit of ego, every bit of everything. And I just humbled myself, and I said, "Would you please pray for me?" And he put his hands on me, and he started praying. I could hear the other people praying. And then all I remember is the priest's shoes. I don't even remember what he looked like. And he came up to me, and he put his hand. I could feel this energy coming off of him as he was speaking in Latin, and he was praying over me in Latin. And I don't know what he said. It could have been 30 seconds or 3 minutes. I don't remember. But when he touched me. And when he touched me, I felt this washing come over me. And I knew right then I had just been cleansed, and I had just been forgiven. And because I was repenting, and I was just humbling. And when he touched me, I felt this glory. I mean, the best, no sex, no drug, no alcohol, no anything was better than that feeling.
Wow.
And I had chills all over my body. And I just started, I lost it then. I just lost it. And I remember I was trying to leave the church to get, and they were like telling me, "You got to go." And I couldn't get up. So then I finally remember I got out of there somehow, and then I drove home, and I got to the house, and I walked in, and when you see someone who's been crying, you can't really hide that.
Right, yeah.
And my wife walks in, and she goes, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "Honey, I think I just got saved."
Wow.
And I mean, really saved.
Wow.
And she goes, and I go, I just need, and this tingling was still in my body. It was still all over me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is amazing. And then, me, being me, I'm like, well, let's make a cocktail and talk about it. So I make a cocktail. And literally, as soon as I touch that alcohol to my lips, that tingling starts to go away. And I put that drink down, and I never finished that drink. I was like, there's something here. And so I have strived to feel that feeling again. Mm-hmm. And you don't get it very often, but when you're blessed with it, man, enjoy it, because that's God really. And that really was the catalyst for me starting the journey that I went on and the movies that I made. And it was, and I know we weren't really going to talk about all that, but that testimony was, look, I can sit here and tell you all the cool stunt stories in the world and all the cool stories in the world, but that honestly to me is the coolest story of all.
Amen.
Because let me tell you something, that injury, had I not shattered my spine and became paralyzed, I never would be the man I am today, and I never would be a Christian. And I'm not the way that I am today. I'm still flawed. I'm still, still cuss too much, and I still will drink, but I am 100% sold out for Jesus Christ and God. And I will do whatever he's calling me to do. And I sometimes think I'm hearing him, and I'm not, or maybe I'm trying to, and it doesn't always work out, but I'm doing the best that I can. And I know that I just have to stay humble, and I just have to stay in the Word, and I have to stay in prayer. And I don't know, I am grateful to him for, I call it my reset button. Like breaking my back, I reset my life, and I got to redefine it this time with him in it, with him first. Not, wow. I would always say I call them hypocristians. It's like my thing, because like that's why I was always like, those guys are crazy, because they'd act like they worship God, and then they live like a heathen on Friday and Saturday, and then go to church on Sunday and get forgiven and start over on Monday. So I would watch that, and that was my example of a Christian. So what I'm trying to do is be a better man now and live it, in that way people can see it by example, not necessarily.
Right. They can see your witness. They can see Christ.
Yeah, and I, if I'm being honest, and God knows, I think we stumble, all of us, and we slip. But you're never out of the pocket. Once you're in, you're in. You just have to break off any portals or anything that you've opened up to invite Satan or darkness into your life. You have to clean that out. Yeah. And there's we always this, there's porn, alcohol, drugs. Those are portals. The 7 deadly sins. I mean, those are the portals that we open. Money, greed, gossip, all those things. And so I just try to be a better man each day. And it's a struggle, because this world is not, it's not heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of Christians today, they kind of have this what's called antinomianism.
Yeah.
And it's what Bonhoeffer calls cheap grace, where it's like, okay, I prayed, I said the prayer, I'm good. It's like they think they got this rubber stamp pass into heaven. But when you understand the power of grace, grace isn't a license to sin. Grace is actually it's like God. Grace is supposed to actually want to cause you, when you understand the price that Jesus paid for your life and the sacrifice and what he did to offer you pardon, grace actually empowers you to live a righteous life unto God.
Yeah.
It's not a rubber stamp cheap thing that a lot of Christians subscribe to. Yeah. It's not. It's a posture of, I am grateful. Oh, God, yeah. I am undeserved. Your grace covers my life. Thank you. Like, does it mean, like you said, does it mean that you don't go through life and you don't make a mistake or you don't slip, right? But that's why we have an advocate in Jesus with the Father, right? And we're under grace. But the idea is that, like, I can, a lot of people ascribe to, I can go out and live my life however I want because I'm under grace. No. Grace actually empowers you to live a righteous life before God. And when you understand that, you want to be a better man.
Amen.
For God. You want to be a witness for Christ.
Well, and think about what you said. Like, you're not, when you're young, you think you're here for a long time. You're not here for a long time. No. This is very short. There's a Kenny Chesney song, "Don't Blink."
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's like, we get caught up in our own self-serving worlds, and we don't understand what was given to us. Here's the other thing. I want to talk about this too, but we were talking about Out of Shadows, and when I made the movies and I gave up what I gave up to make those films, I gave up millions of dollars. I gave up a career most people would never have. But the one thing that I gained that no one knows or can really see is my peace in my heart with God. And you can't pay for that.
Can't put a price on that, man.
And let me tell you one other thing. When you're in a wheelchair, when you're paralyzed, I don't care if you have $2 billion in your bank account cash. You'll give all $2 billion back to give you what God gave you for free.
Yeah.
Like your eyesight, your hearing, your health, your ability to walk. We take it all for granted for so long. At some point, you have to be grateful for what you've been given. And I walk now. Okay, I don't have the money I used to have. I don't have a problem saying that. But I know that God will restore me. And I know that God will, even if he doesn't, I don't care. I know I have peace in my heart when I walk with him, when I talk to him. And it's funny now, because we were talking about this when we were driving up. I bet I pray more than when I'm alone, like not when I'm in public, but when I'm at myself, I'm praying all the time. Or at least I'm talking to him in my head all the time.
Right, yeah.
I was like, it's always about him. So I love I don't love what I went through, and it was a tragic act. I was a victim of a very tragic situation, but I am not a victim to my situation.
Right.
You know,
Victory in Christ.
That's right.
You're a victor.
Victor. There you
That's
go.
awesome, man. No, I thank you for sharing your testimony, man. It's powerful, and I do. You brought up out of the shadows.
Yeah.
I want to transition to that because, you know, you left that life behind, gave your life to Christ. Now God calls you, really not just to make this movie, but 2 movies, and
I didn't want to make the second one. Trust me.
but out of the shadows,
Out of shadows.
You made it independently.
Yeah.
Right. You put your own.
I paid for it.
You paid for it.
I made it.
And it went basically when you finally got done producing it, put it out there, it went viral.
Oh, it went super viral. Like, it had over 1 million views in 24 hours, and then it, like, by I think 3 days we had 5 to 7 million views, and then by the end of the week it was like near 10 million. And then it was weird because I would watch the numbers in the back end go like way up, and then like numbers on the front end, they would turn them down, like they would throttle them. But that movie, because you know what I did was I made the movie and then I gave it away for free. I you know, like now like I look like I was a prophet or an oracle because I was trying to tell everybody this stuff 7 years ago, but it looked like I was the crazy one in the room, you know. But the one thing about that movie that I think God anointed was when you hear the truth. You know, you think about, you know, your spiritual weapons, the Word of God, the sword of the Spirit is the Word of God. That's the truth. It cuts through all the deception. You know what I mean? Like Ephesians 6:12, you know.
Yeah.
Put on the great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, put on the full armor of God. I think it registered with people because it connected dots in a way that it allowed people to come to, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it's coming from someone in Hollywood that, you know, I was at the highest levels of that stuff. I mean not the occult. I'm talking about Hollywood. I'm talking about I was at the highest levels of the business. Like, you know, I mean, I got to do things most people don't get to do. I got to hear things and, you know, see things. And when I'm talking about professionally, I'm talking about on set, you know, be a part of. And, you know, to me, there is a club. And I've talked about this on other podcasts. I don't know who they are. I have my personal opinion, but I can't prove any of that stuff. But it's like a fraternity. You know, once you're in the fraternity, you're in a fraternity, and your brothers take care of you, your sisters take care of you. You know, and I think what that movie did was it exposed a lot of that stuff, and there was, you know, let's think about it. It got translated into 24 different languages. It went global, but when it went super viral, and then it, you know, we tracked the metrics, and I'm pretty sure in 10 months we hit over 100 million views, and that was 6 years ago.
Wow, man.
We put that movie out in April of 2020, and if you go on my X account, I uploaded it a couple years ago. It's got 23 million views on X after they kicked me off the first time.
Yeah, it got censored. It got
I got
banned.
kicked off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
all of the major platforms,
PayPal, Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok. Like, I got silenced.
Why? And let me ask you. Why do you, for the audience, why do you think that is? Why would they take that movie if it wasn't a threat? If everything in that, like, why do you think they took it off? Is those platforms? What's in Out of the Shadows that would take it off, get it taken off?
That's a great question, actually. I think it's a number of things. I think it hit a little too close to home. You know, the weirdest thing is, like, with Google. So, like, you know how you have an email list. So check this out in the audience right now. Even if you guys are on X, even to this day, do it right now. If you type in outofshadows.org on your Twitter feed or your X feed, and try to share that. So if you go on your X account and you just type in outofshadows.org and try to post it, like to talk about it, you can't post it.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
They won't even let you post it.
not even.
Wow.
And then when we were sending out links to the movies on our mailing list, Google was blocking it.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, you don't have to give away the whole thing, but and by the way, we're gonna put the links to Out of Shadows and into
the best place
YouTube,
the best place if people want to see these films, it's still free. I've never charged a dime for Out of Shadows. I let everybody upload it, put it on their websites. People are like, oh my God, they're putting your web, and I'd see 1 million views over here, 3 million over here. And they're like, I go, just as long as you don't monetize it. Because God told me, I want you to make this movie. You're going to take no credit. You're going to put it out for free. And you're not going to charge for it. That was my mandate that he gave me. And so I've stuck to that mandate. Now, Into the Light's a different story, because when I did Out of Shadows, that was God telling me, and I had the money back then, to be honest with you. I could afford to spend $300,000-$400,000 on a film, or it didn't matter. I was serving what I felt like was the greater good, and I don't mind sacrifice and whatever. I mean, what am I going to do with it? And take it with me? I mean, okay, I've eaten at great restaurants, I've flying first class, I've stayed at good hotels. Nothing new is going to happen. So I don't really care about that. I mean, yes, you need resources to do things, and I do like nice things. I'm not stupid, but sometimes you got to step up, and do what you got to do. And so I did, and it's interesting because the blessing I got was how many people came back to Christ, and how many people, I had millions of people tell me that movie changed my life, and it changed my kids' lives, and it brought awareness to things that I never saw. And the reason I think it was so effective is because I didn't tell you, it's not political. It's not one side or the other side. It's just, look, these things are real. Whether you're aware of them or not, these are real things, and you can go look into them. Operation Mockingbird was a real thing. Operation Paperclip was a real thing. MK Ultra is a real thing. Satanic ritual abuse is a real thing. Child trafficking is a real thing. And I didn't take a stance of, I'm trying to paint a picture for you. I'm trying to show you that this is real, because I know it's real, because I worked in that world. I've seen those documents. Like when you wanted to do a certain film, you got to get approval from, I'm not attacking the CIA, because there are some good people that work in the CIA, just like in everything. There's good and bad. And that's the one thing people always want to black and white everything. Okay, these are bad guys, these are good guys. And the world is very gray. There's, depending on what personality you are, or what kind of hang-ups you might have. Some people are motivated by money. Some people just want to make money. Some people want power. Some people just want their ego. Everybody's got a thing that they want to get, that they want. And so they want to control so that if they can control those things in you, then they can control your messaging. They can control what your behavior will be. And these movies point that out. And the second one actually makes you aware of how you get manipulated, because unless you know how you're being manipulated or the tools they use, you're not ever going to be able to fight it. You can't. How do you fight a fight when you don't even know you're in a fight? Mm-hmm. Because you think, oh, everybody's telling me the truth. Why would they lie? You got to understand, if they control your story and what you're hearing, what you're told, and what you believe, they control your behavior. And they don't just let anybody have that power. So if you want that power, you want to be famous, or you want to get into the high levels of it, you're going to give something up. You're going to give up either your control, or you're going to give something up. because they don't just give you that. That's not how they think. God gives you that. God gives you freedom. Jesus gives you freedom. They don't. You're not playing on that is not Jesus playing on that team. That's a whole different group of enemies, and you're dealing with some very high level ones.
Wow. Yeah, and so that was Out of Shadows, and then you
yeah. And then, can I say one thing right here?
Yeah.
One of the things that they tried to pin on that movie was this is QAnon stuff. Q's not mentioned in that movie anywhere, because why did they put that in there? Why are they saying that? Because I was reading the Q drops when I put the movie out. Well, yeah, I was reading them. I wanted to figure out what it is. The one thing I've learned in this life is you don't know what you don't know if you don't look into it for yourself.
Right.
Don't believe everything you hear and see.
Mm-hmm.
Have what's, most people just hear something, that's what happened. No, look into it. Do a little research. Discern. Pray over it.
Right.
Pray over it. And that's what I learned over this journey. It's like, so many times I have to go back and go, all right, I'm upset about something, and I go out in my field, or I go out and I pray. And I ask for God to tell me something. Sometimes he tells me something. Sometimes he doesn't say anything. Sometimes I'm not supposed to know. Maybe I'm supposed to be patient. Maybe I'm supposed to just wait. My timing and God's timing, I've learned real quick, he doesn't work on my clock. It's not going to happen.
Right, yeah. It's totally two different timings.
Oh, yeah. And then the weirdest thing, like I've really found peace with this, like with my back and everything, was had I not broken my back and had God not reset my life and gave me one more chance to redeem my soul, I would not be who I am today, and I would not be doing what I am today. And I am way more happy being this guy than I was the guy in Hollywood chasing a bunch of dreams that were really false reality to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. No, man, it's powerful, and I've actually watched both documentaries, and they're powerful. And so Out of Shadows touches on that, and then Into the Light kind of goes into the psychological warfare, fifth generation warfare, the psyop of it all.
Yes.
Right, and how it's more like the government, the media, the broader societal kind of control. And man, I remember when I watched it, I was just like, it was like the veil was ripped off my eyes, man. I was just like, oh my goodness, what are they doing? It made me really restructure the way, like, what I let my kids watch, what I let them have access to, what even me and my wife watch, like, because now it's like you can't, once you know the truth, you can't unsee or unhear the truth. Like, you're responsible for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so powerful documentaries. And so what would you say is the through line connection of it all?
Messaging, narrative control. And what does the Bible teach? Messaging, narrative control. You got to control your own narrative. You have to be in the Word of God. You have to be in His message, not Satan's. And I'm going to say one more thing. Into the Light movie is where you can find both of those films. Just so you know, if you want to watch those films, that's on our own website. That's on our own code. It's not on Microsoft, Google, or Amazon. It's what we built so that we wouldn't be throttled when we place the movies out there. So now, yes, X has 23 million views. I uploaded it to X. It's 5 years later. The movie still's got 23 million views on it. I'm just saying, these movies made a difference, and that credit goes straight to Jesus Christ and God. It is not me. I'd love to sit here and tell you I'm the greatest filmmaker in the world, and I'm so great and all that. But the truth is, if it wasn't for Jesus or God, I never would have done it. And I have to give that glory back to Him. Now, there was a lot of people that worked and sacrificed along with me with those things, but that comes from Him. It does not come from me. And I think what they are tools. They're tools in a toolbox, because depending on where you're, like, say you have a loved one, say you have your family, like your sister or your mom or your cousins or whoever, and you're having a dinner discussion or you're having a thing, those are great tools. Hey, watch this, and then see how they react. You know, some people, oh, it's all they don't, because if someone says that that's all not true, the biggest bump that Alex Shadows got was the Epstein stuff. And I didn't really touch on Epstein that much, but we did mention it. But it's all the child stuff. It's all what's come out. All that's real. People don't want to admit that this is real, but it is real. And the only way that you can address it is to know about it. If you don't know about it, then how are you going to address it? It's like we were talking about on the way here, the porn books in the high school libraries, or the pornographic, whatever. I don't know.
In the elementary and middle schools. Right.
People don't know about it, or they would go down there and raise holy hell with those schools. You don't think, like I know as a parent, I never went to my kid's library and picked up any books. I'm guilty. I'll say it up front. I trusted the system. And I was wrong. I mean, thank God my kids turned out great, and they went to great schools. But not everybody has that.
Right.
And so what do? You want to control the world, control the narrative. Well, you got to control the kids first, because that's who's going to control the world and control the narrative. You want to shift the Overton window, you got to change. Look at how they changed the history books. Go pick up a Texas history book today and then go find the one that I had in 7th grade.
Oh, yeah.
Whole different story.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can go in a history book right now in any high school, and you can look at how they teach how the Mayflower Compact was written. And they took all the references to God and advancing the Christian faith, all that. Like, that's not what they're teaching. Like, they slowly rewrite history, which is part of the agenda, right? So that you don't remember your true history, so you can rewrite the future. You can shape the future.
There's so many reasons why they do it. It's just we didn't think they were doing it here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really it. And look, man, we can go deep into some of this stuff, but the reality is this, like with we're under attack. I mean, like the war between the Marxist-Leninist, communist, basically satanic world and God's world has not ever stopped. It's not stopped.
Right.
What do you think the Pilgrims were leaving England for? Why did they leave? Why did they come here? They were tired of tyranny. They wanted their sovereignty. Mm-hmm. They wanted their own sovereignty. And now that's being threatened again at the highest level, and I don't care, people are so confused because, I honestly, I fly a lot like you do. You travel, I travel. I just feel like I'm walking around in the Matrix. Like, I feel like I walk into all these airports and like I listen to people's conversations. Thank God no one recognizes me anymore. Like right after those movies, I hated it. Like I would go in the airports, I'd get mobbed. Like people, oh, you're the guy that, I'm like, oh God, not really, Yeah. But now I just listen. I listen to people in the restaurants. I listen to people on the plane, and I listen. It's like they're so consumed with the little things in their lives, they aren't looking at the big things that actually matter.
Right.
And no one has time because we're all doing this, or doom scrolling, or they're doing this, and they don't have time to reconnect with nature. Mm-hmm. I make it a point now. I literally got into grounding and sunbathing. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I ground and I sunbathe. And I it's like meditation. I just go out and go for a walk barefooted, in the grass or in the trails. And I can feel myself, getting centered back and putting down my device. I'm on it because I have to be on it, but, take a walk.
Yeah.
Just put it down.
Put your devices down. Be with your kids. Be with your wife.
Yeah.
Connect with other people.
Yeah. Remember that? Yeah. Remember those days?
Yep.
How about, we had a barbecue the other day, and I'm like, hey, why don't we play some games? Let's play football. Let's throw the ball around.
Yeah.
So the problem is I have a Malinois, and that doesn't last very long. So you can't throw the football around him. But anyway, yeah, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
So no, I just I did want to ask one thing, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
You know, Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird, these things. Can you just talk about that briefly? In other words, like you said, you have like when you write a script.
Yeah.
When there's a script, you have to get permission.
Well, it depends. If you're mentioning, like, say the Department of Defense, or you're writing about the Army, or you're writing about spy stuff, or you say if you're writing about the NSA, you got to get approval from the NSA to mention whatever you're going to mention, or the CIA, or the DOJ, or the DOD, depending on what. Yeah. It just depends on the script. Like what's the storyline? They want to see it, and the Army has a media liaison. Like I was going to do a movie based on a real story that took place in Afghanistan. I was going to direct it, and so I had to. Once we finished the screenplay, we had to submit it for approval. And if it was like, oh no, you can't do that, we don't want you saying this or that. You can do but if you want their support, you can do anything you want. Let me clarify that.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering because it sounded like they had control over what you.
No. Let me be clear. You can make it. You can write anything you want to write. But if you want a Black Hawk in your film, or you want a cool tank, or whatever, if it's from the Army. Now, if you have a friend that has a Black Hawk, and you can pay your friend to fly his Black Hawk, you don't have to do all this. Right. But if you want military support, which is great production value, you gotta make sure that they're gonna support what it is you're doing. Gotcha. Right. So to clarify, but
Paperclip, Mockingbird.
Oh, okay. So most people know about this, or they don't know about it. After World War II, Operation Paperclip was a program that the U.S. government set up to bring over a lot of the Nazi sciences. Okay, everybody knows. A lot of people. It's funny because I think everybody knows this and has heard this, but they weren't just. A lot of them went to work for NASA, rocket engineers, rocket scientists, JPL, different organizations that were technologically highly advanced. They also brought over a lot of Nazi scientists that did human experiments, like the MK Ultra stuff, where they were testing how can you program a child? Can you program people? Can you train them to do certain things? What's the best method? What are you trying to accomplish? The other thing is, from Paperclip, they developed the Mockingbird media. Well, the Mockingbird media has probably been around a little longer than that. But the Mockingbird media is all of your state-run media. Like, and if you remember in Into the Light, I talk about, and this is, ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, NPR. What do those sound like?
Sound like three-letter agencies.
Yeah, they're all competing, and they all have a job to do, but that's how they're set up to run. They're set up to message. Think about it. PBS. Everybody watches public broadcast service. Channel 8. When I was a kid, it was like Sesame Street. What was the other one? Mr. Rogers.
Oh yeah.
All the different television shows, like educational shows, so that was NPR, National Public Radio, and then you got ABC, American Broadcasting Company, NBC, National Broadcasting Company, right? CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System. If you can't figure that out on your own, then you're not going to figure anything out, because do the math. These companies were designed to message for the nation. And these men and women that run these companies, depending on who they are, depend on the message that goes out. And it can be good or bad. You can use, the tools are the same. It's the people behind the narratives. Mm-hmm. You need these tools. You need to be able to message your population. Nowadays, you got you got X and TikTok and Instagram, and that's how people aren't watching ABC, CBS, or NBC.
Right.
No one cares. The kids today, these guys, they don't watch that stuff. They it's yeah. I already saw that.
Yep.
All right, I got it. You know, so it's a whole different. And with AI coming around, I mean, that's a whole nother Jerry Springer. We could do a whole show just on AI.
Exactly.
But the reality is, those operations are real, and they're documented real. It's not. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. You know, right. I mean, don't believe me. Look it up. Go look into it. But see, that's where that's right there. They know you're lazy. You're not going to do it because you're too distracted by dopamine and all the other hits you get from just sitting there scrolling, or you get a phone call, or your buddy calls you. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's why people need to go watch Out of Shadows.
Yeah.
Because you did a lot. You did the homework.
Oh, it took me 2 years to make that film.
Wow. Yeah.
But I didn't even know it was funny because when we started out, it was something different. And I mean, for the record, people, someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you do documentaries?" I go, "No, I did major feature films and television shows and commercials. The only documentaries I've ever made were those two. I never made a documentary before in my life until I made those. I didn't even know how to make a documentary. That was God. Wow. I'm telling you, man, it was God. It was like God told me." And the funniest thing was the second film I did not want to make. But God said to me, I heard him say it after 3 years, you got to make another movie. You got to make another movie. I go, I don't want to make another movie. I don't want any more. I did my job. I'm done. And I woke up one morning and I felt like all I heard God saying was, you need to explain to people how they're manipulated, why they're manipulated, who's manipulated them, and why they cannot see it.
Wow.
And that was the whole premise. And that's when I got General Flynn, Lara Logan, Dr. Keith Rose, and Brian Gamble, all and Boone Cutler, the late Boone Cutler. I'd like to honor Boone. You know, explaining PSYOPs, explaining the intel world, explaining how messages are manipulated. And those are just facts. There's no politics. There's no left or right. There's nothing in these films that are nothing but just, hey, here's some information. You may or may not know about it, and it may help you and your family. Take a look.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was the message.
Yeah. That's good, man. And so bringing this home, you know, this is, praying this podcast reaches a lot of people and gets to hear your testimony, your message, and obviously go watch the documentaries. But to someone who's listening right now, that I think they sense something's wrong in the culture, in our country. They can't quite put their finger on it. And when they do put their finger on it, they might not necessarily know what to do about it.
Yeah.
What is your message to those people?
Well, the first thing that just hit my mind when you said that was, I pray for discernment. I mean, and I'm not saying that because not everybody's going to be a Christian. Most people watching this will probably be Christians. But a lot of times when I say discernment, educate yourself, look into it. Because the problem is, what's important today, tomorrow it gets overcome by other events, and you have to move on. But to structure yourself and just discipline yourself into But see, here's the thing: if you're not getting the right educate, meaning there's so much disinformation and misinformation out there, that's where it becomes confusing, even for myself. And that's why I say discernment. That was the first thing that popped in my mind when you asked me that, because I see things and I hear things behind the scenes, because you know the world I'm in, and I don't know what to believe myself. Sometimes I just take a knee and pray. And I pray for discernment, because that's all that God can gift us. And if He will reveal to you what you need to know when you need to know it. It's never failed me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I have prayed for a couple burning bushes. Like, I need a message. I need a burning bush, God. I need some tablets. I mean, I want you to like write it down for me,
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. So, but then that means patience. Be patient. I mean, look at the stories in the Bible, how long it took sometimes. I mean, we were talking about the other night. 40 years. Moses,
Right.
40 years. I mean, it didn't happen in 2 or 3 weeks, a month?
Right. You
Go
read the
40
scriptures
years.
And you think it's a short span, but it's decades.
40 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yep.
So, I mean, even Job. I mean, these are, obviously everybody knows these stories, but, I mean, it's not your timeline. And a lot of times, things that are roadblocks are really there to either protect you or it's not time yet, which
Right.
I keep going back to my injury because I keep going, I had two ways to look at it. I could have been a victim in that situation and just let it all go. Like, I got hurt and I'm just going to limp around and get people feeling sorry for me, or I can be a warrior. I can be a fighter.
Amen.
That's
good, man.
So,
That's good. Well,
hey, can I mention one last thing?
yeah, absolutely.
So I am about to. I've been working on the book about my healing, like about when my back was broken, and I started writing this book. Probably that happened to me in 2014. So that was 12 years ago. I started writing this book 6 years ago, and I finished it. Like, I got it 12 chapters, but I had one chapter, and for the last 6 years, I couldn't finish this book, and I finally got it finished, or got it to where it's close to being finished. And it was about PTSD, and it was about struggling with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I didn't think that I had that. So anyway, I finally realized that I do kind of have it, and I do have to deal with it. Now, it's not like it's like a psychosis thing. It's like a physical thing. And so this book is going to be coming out in hopefully the next year. And it's called After They Cut. And it's a double entendre from like when they cut you or after they cut.
Right.
So, so the book's going to be called After They Cut, How I Healed My Shattered Spine and Rebuilt My Life After My Injury. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes out, you'll have to shoot me a
yeah,
text.
I'll definitely.
Send me a copy, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, that's awesome, man. So where, again, can you let our audience know, where can people find your work?
Okay, the best place, I'm only on Twitter. I'm on True Social, but I never post there. I haven't posted there in 2 years. I'm on Twitter. I have the most complicated name.
Oh, your handle?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you my handle. I'm at Crux, CURX 4150 7251. So that was my handle before I went public. So and then if you want to see the movies, that Out of Shadows is on X, on that account. It's pinned to my account. You can see it. And then if you want to go to our website, it's just intothelight.movie. That simple. Intothelight.movie. And both films are there. If you click on the website, you can see Out of Shadows on the landing page and Into the Light. Out of Shadows is, you just click on it, you can watch it. And then if you want to watch Into the Light, it's $9.99, and you can watch it. And it's it'll help support us, help support our mission. And it'd be greatly appreciated if you guys, if you care enough. And they're only an hour. They're like an hour and 15 and an hour and 7.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of time. But I guarantee you the one thing that I've gotten a lot is most people watch the movie and go, I need to watch that again. Because there's a lot in there.
Yes. Yeah, I think I've watched each one of them 2 or 3 times myself.
Yeah,
so.
I get that a lot. People, because you miss things. Because I layered a lot of things in there because it's a lot of information to unpack at one time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, Mike, thank you, man. This has been incredible.
I am so stoked to come down here and to see you. I've respected what you guys are, your mission and what you're doing. You guys have been supporters, and I just want to support you back. So, thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here, brother. It's an honor.
All right, man.
All right. Well, now's the part of the show where we take our guest into the red zone. And I'm excited about this one because when Mike and I go into the red zone and we start talking, we're going to start talking about the occult, what really goes on in the industry, kind of behind the scenes, and get into spiritual warfare components of the industry and what's happening in our culture today. So I'm excited about this one. And if you want to join us over on the other side, please go to our Patreon account and subscribe. Join the Defender Circle today so that you can hear the conversation that we're about to have. All right, Mike, you ready?
Let's do this.
Welcome to the Red Zone.